Okay, so last time literally we were just discussing ideas where we could put this. Instagram, primarily put like the full things on YouTube.
And we discussed, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yeah.
No,
Why?
Yes. It's not, but yes.
Why?
because it's a hot dog.
Yeah. But then you defined a sandwich as something between two pieces of bread.
Which only one piece of bread, really.
Okay, but you could just
Oh.
you could argue that a piece also comes from a loaf.
What, sorry?
One slice of bread is also part of a loaf.
But a bun is not a loaf.
No.
Yeah, but if you get one piece of bread, one slice of bread, wrap it around a sausage, do you call that a hot dog or a sandwich?
I call that a ghetto hot dog.
Yeah,
Have
exactly.
you ever?
Okay, what about if you get like a sandwich but it's only on one like slice of bread and you see like you're not that hungry so you just fold it and it's one slice of bread.
No one really does that.
If you
What's that?
I've done that.
if you separate
Like with crisps and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if you separate the bread that's on each side of the thing, it'll be a sandwich because it's made in two things. But if you
So-
wrap it round,
But
there's
if
still one
this,
object.
So
if you
what's
call
that
a
called
hot
then?
dog a sandwich, yeah? If
So
you
is
call
that a hot dog?
sandwich-
So why get a crisp sandwich and put like one slice of bread in half? Is that a crisp hot dog?
If when you fold it, it's actually separated now. When you fold it.
No, I don't mean separate. I mean just literally
I think
fold
if you
it
put a
up.
hot
No,
dog on
it's not
bread, it's
sandwich.
officially a hot
So
dog.
what is it then?
It's a crisp wrap with bread.
Oh no, we're not getting into wraps.
I'm just going to put it out there though. If you're classing a hot dog as a sandwich, surely like a cob or like a bun or even down to like an iced bun, is that a sandwich?
An ice bun. How could an ice
Oh.
bun be a sandwich? An ice bun's a sweet.
Just because it's sweet doesn't mean it's not on bread.
But what?
Yeah, but you can get a Nutella sandwich and that's sweet.
That's a different kind of dough. Wait, Nutella. Yeah, but
No.
that's Nutella sandwich. Okay.
Yeah, but that's sweet. And you just said.
Okay.
You can have a peanut butter sandwich. A peanut butter sandwich is quite
I would
sweet. or a
rather
jam
agree that a
sandwich.
hot dog is not a sandwich than agree that some sort of cake is a sandwich. You guys ever had
Here's
a
a question: what's the difference between a muffin and a cupcake?
Oh.
smaller size?
One of them.
Is it tomato, or fruit, or
muffins
vegetable?
don't have
Okay.
icing. They leave the muffin by itself. A cupcake has icing and sparkling shit all over it.
A cupcake's made in a cup.
I think it's just a case of potato, really. Because
No,
you guys,
no, you don't put icing on a muffin though.
But
I've
it's
had
a-
icing on a muffin before.
yeah, I was gonna say it's exactly the same thing, just named
It's
different
not
things.
the.
I think it could be.
I
You
think
guys ever had a
muffins-
great breakfast though? Because a great
Yes.
breakfast is a sandwich, but it's not cut all the way through.
Cupcakes don't have a muffin.
You know
top.
about the
The baguette.
yeah.
No, not sorry, not the baguette. If you just got the bap,
Oh yeah.
which
Yeah.
I would class a bap as
Because
a
a
sandwich.
Subway is a Subway sandwich, isn't it?
And
And
this-
that's not cut all the way through, it's just folded.
Yeah.
Mm.
Ah.
But I think.
Oh,
Oh.
shit.
Oh.
Oh!
Subway's got you now.
Oh!
Damn, you're on my side.
I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah, that is literally what I was
No,
doing last
you
week.
just put another question on the table, just left it. You can't do that.
Should we contact Subway about this?
Yes. Hello.
Subway, I'm having an argument and you throw me off.
So yeah,
Put in the form of
that's what we did last week.
Okay.
Can you see how it's catchy?
Yeah, it's
that,
fine.
That little...
We used to have these debates all the time in Perth Middle. Like,
What, if a
literally.
hot dog's a sandwich?
No, like debates like that. What's the difference between a cupcake and a muffin? And then is a tomato a fruit or a vegetable? And then can ducks fly? We had like loads of different
Well,
ones.
ducks can
I've
fly,
seen ducks
and
fly,
tomato is a fruit.
Yeah.
What is weird is why do ducks have corkscrew-shaped penises?
All I
That
know
is
is
Did I?
Yeah.
And
I
they
didn't know
snap off as well. Yeah.
Ooh,
Oh,
that
yeah.
sounds nice.
Oh, and they also
they slip
twist.
off.
Yeah, and apparently they also twist in the opposite direction to the duck's vagina.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So how is that?
I know that seahorses is the only creature where the male carries the child.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. That's one on the
Surrogates
table,
are
I don't know.
And the praying mantis, the female eats the male after. they
Yeah.
have-
Only if she
Yeah.
wants to. So I think sometimes they get away.
It's the same as like a black widow. That,
Yeah.
Black widow?
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's the same as
Yeah.
black widow.
It's not just black widows. A lot of different spiders, but then some spiders will
What
add
flavour are the knickknacks in there, by the way?
normal
Normal.
What's normal?
orange.
And the green ones, whatever they are.
Yeah, and the grey one. Scampi. And then
Scampi.
Yeah, some males before mating with the female will try and like tie her up a little bit, or like I think
That's
they
Oh,
what I do.
I think they mildly nibble at the leg to try and make her feel a bit drowsy, so they can
That's
impregnate
what I
her
do.
and get out of there before you get eaten.
That's what I do.
What are these?
Onion rings.
Yeah.
My hands are clean, but I have just washed them.
That's fine.
I don't think any of us will worry about it.
Now I am. though.
It's more that she's eating the crisps.
Mm.
Another thing we're thinking about, and we continue to do these sorts of recordings, what's their target audience? Because at the minute it's just sort of like kid people in their early 20s.
You need to know what product you're going to do.
Anyone, because if we just talk about funny stuff, anyone can listen to it.
Yeah.
And
If
we
your
can-
audience is going to be anyone, you're not going to have a particular like idea. You're just going to have like an open.
Yeah, it's different
canvas.
topics. Generally the idea is discuss it in topics,
Mhm.
and they may resonate with some people, they may not.
and get topics to come in, so everybody can donate a topic. We talk
Yeah.
about it.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've ever seen a Joe Rogan podcast, but he just talks about all sorts of shit and gets
No.
different people for different.
Sports is always a good one, but you two don't like sports.
We can try and discuss sport. What do you want to talk about?
If it's like MMA or boxing, I'm getting into it. So.
Are we gonna
That's
do
true,
politics?
actually. You'll talk about.
Or we want to talk about Brexit.
Let's talk about Brexit then.
Talk about
That's
Brexit.
a topic I don't know much about.
Really either. Why not?
Well, because
Well, actually, hold on. Have you heard about Article 13?
No.
Right. Okay.
Mhm.
So, Article 13 is this thing that because we're still in the EU, we haven't come out of it yet. They're going to put copyright laws and everything on the internet. So, you can't upload a video to YouTube without owning every single bit of media in there is your copyright or you own the copyright to it. So if you, say for instance, if you use a song that hasn't been copyright claimed, they can take your video down, you won't get any money for it. And if it's in America and it's allowed on there, if you're in the EU and not that person have copyrights for it, if they're in the EU, you can't watch it.
That kind of happens anyway, though.
No, not to the point it is, because it would be literally, you know how like in China they filtered the firewall, they can't get much in there. It'd be like that over here, but for copywriting.
Wow.
So yeah, then we're just taking over the whole of the internet. It's not just YouTube, it's everywhere.
yeah. Well, what I was going to say, if we get into the whole Brexit thing, maybe we should be like, oh, how do you guys vote or want to vote?
I don't vote.
What?
You
I
didn't
don't-
vote on Brexit.
I don't vote.
Don't vote.
Fine.
What do you vote then? You voted Leave.
No.
No, sorry, you voted Remain.
Yeah.
Okay. I voted Stay. So this is interesting. Beth,
You
Well, I
voted
thought you voted Leave.
Sorry, I voted Leave.
What did you
I
vote?
voted
I
Leave.
didn't.
What did you vote?
Remain.
Ooh, it's gonna get you go for me, oh my.
So why
Why
didn't
did
you
you
vote?
vote Leave?
What do I vote? I
Why,
don't vote.
yeah, why didn't you vote?
Because
Why
no
don't-
matter what I vote,
Why don't you vote?
because they're all puppets at the end of the day, whether we choose to stay or leave anyway. If they want us to stay in the EU, we'll stay in the EU. If they want us to leave, we'll leave. Plus, I just don't, I'd rather stay off the radar, because you have to go on the election polls and stuff. You never know when you need to go off the radar, and I'm fine.
Why would you need to go off the radar?
Just in case shit happens, man.
When they off the grid.
Beth leads some sort of life we don't even know.
I mean, you have like a national insurance number, and if you've ever been to the doctors, you're on the grid.
Really, Steph?
Wow, Steph.
Come on. You know, just before you left, I spent said we're filming.
No,
You
I'm
know,
not.
just before you left, I said we were filming. We were filming, you know, like recording, and you just sort of interrupted that a little bit.
I'm gonna start irritating it next anyway.
I said- Or we was ringing very loudly of the recording.
Do you think you could edit out a bit around eating knickknacks all the time?
Alright,
What, just like green screen something else in your hand?
Yeah.
I will do it.
Yeah. Pulling peanuts out of an arsehole.
Okay.
I could roll it. Okay,
Remember them nicknames?
That will be happening.
So what
Is that, are you taking the strawberry ones? That's what I'm
We're
doing.
trying to figure out what sort of life that Beth
No,
lived.
yeah. Well, of course you're going to be on the grid, because if you've ever been to the doctors and stuff like that, you're on the grid.
You're on the grid anyway because you're at national insurance, but all I'm saying is, when you have to legally sign up onto the registry poll, don't you?
Yeah.
Otherwise you get threatened with a £1,000 fine. But they've got all your details, where you live, what you do, blah blah blah.
I never-
Do you pay taxes?
Registered anyway.
Hmm?
Do you pay taxes?
Taxes.
Mm.
Got to pay tax.
Do you carry a mobile phone with you?
The
I
hub
do.
line, no?
They know exactly where you are at all
Do you have a
times.
phone
No,
contract?
but still, no.
Okay.
It's very hard to hide, you know.
Yeah.
This is a completely different topic. Despite Beth's apparently being like some mafia.
I'm not even a mafia. I'd just rather not vote.
But,
Because like I say, no matter what I want.
what about you, Steph?
I didn't care really. It was sort of like, I didn't think my vote would matter that much, because it's sort of the way things are going. You can see that everyone's going to leave.
What says a million people?
What were you gonna what would you have voted? Because
Stay. Because
I voted leave and I was very surprised.
I would vote stay because I don't like change.
I'd have actually voted leave if I voted.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
why
Really
would,
good,
why
isn't
would
it?
you have voted leave?
More independence.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, but what would that independence cost?
Not a lot.
I was very aware that by making the decision of leave that things could potentially be made more difficult, but in the long run I felt like there was more benefits
Do you
to
really
trying to figure
think-
out on your own.
Do you really think all these people are going to stop dealing with the UK or because they're not
No.
part of the EU? There's too much money to be made. Money speaks volumes.
Yeah. However, things will start to cost more.
Maybe for a short period.
No, I don't think that one.
That short term will be a long period to us.
Maybe.
So the reason why
If anything, I think it would bring more opportunities into
Oh,
Ireland for the
absolutely. I would
British
agree.
people.
Yeah, because with everything that ends, there is always new beginnings, and there could be opportunities
the
that we
EU?
don't even know about.
The EU put regulations and restrictions on fishing for certain fish around the UK, and they then gave it to like other countries for them to. So like all your salmon and all this, that, and the other, you know, like the major supermarkets, it's all shipped over from different countries. Whereas if we were to have our independence, this is just one example, and even down to the steel that we use, the steel isn't British anymore. You know what I mean? So
that's because we don't have the manufacturing to do that. Like society tends to go through, you're like a less economically developed company. The way you get out of that is you go through manufacturing, and then the next step is to become a service-based industry, and then that's how you kind of progress. That's kind of like a natural thing. So so for the service industry to take over, you have to sort of get rid of the kind of industrial industry, and then you outsource that to nations which do it on a bigger scale and for cheaper than you can do it. So you buy it off them for a cheaper price.
But my argument is we've only been a part of the EU for the last 40 odd years. How did we cope before the 40 years?
I think it's been long, that is it?
Oh, it's only been about 40 odd years.
4 years.
Yeah,
Well,
but
the thing
think of
is,
it,
how
it
do-
was back then in the modern day. Would we cope?
Yeah, you can
Well,
always.
this is what I mean. It'll bring opportunities back into England, even down to the fishing, down to the steel industry, even down to like car manufacturers. Do you really think they're going to cut off ties with Britain? There's
See,
no chance. There's no chance.
I think
Because
it
it's too much.
It'll provide more opportunities for the workers, so bringing more industry back into our own country because there's
I
a
don't
lot.
think it will.
I think
Why?
I think the EU restricts us on a lot of things, even down to the watts that we have in our Hoovers. Which really, how can the EU tell us you're not allowed a certain wattage on your Hoover?
Well, you see, that's one thing I kind of didn't want Brexit to happen, because then the whole sustainability thing would go out the window, which is something which is actually very needed, especially now. And with like population will be getting out of control, we'll have even less room to have a industrial infrastructure, as well as gaining like enough room to have food. So we're going to need to outsource everything in the future because it'll be overrun with residential areas.
That's
Being-
inevitable, whether we stay in the EU or not. Though.
Yeah, it is, but being in the EU, it would make outsourcing all that stuff which we can't have in the UK easier and cheaper.
They'll still deals with us though, that's the thing, just because we won't be a part of the EU. Do you really think these manufacturers are going to miss out on an opportunity to sell to Britain?
Look at Norway. The Prime Minister of Norway, who isn't in the EU, say England would be stupid to leave the EU. And why would they say that? They sort of half came out themselves.
Because
and
they
were
rely a lot on the British, you know what I mean? Like, the reason why
Norway
they
don't.
I think they do though.
Norway are one of probably the most independent countries in the
Not
world.
Norway, I'm on about the EU in general.
Oh
you
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
They rely a lot more on Britain than what Britain rely on the EU. And the problem is, if the EU allow us to leave with such ease, every other country is going to be thinking to themselves, all right, then Britain's done it, we're going to do it. And that's the thing that they're scared of.
That's the next thing though. They're actually having difficulty getting a gun contract to leave.
But
the
the
EU.
problem is you've got what's her name now? I've forgotten her name. May.
Theresa May.
She doesn't believe in the Brexit, and you've got someone who doesn't believe in what the country's
But
voted for.
none of the MPs do. There was 2 MPs who
But why
who
put
ran for-
yourself in that position if you don't believe in it, and then she's trying to get a contract in
No,
place?
But look what happened straight after Brexit. Nigel Farage quit being an MP. This last week, 2 Brexiteer campaigners who they've been writing up drafts for the last 2 years have quit because the drafts they were writing, they turned out they didn't actually like, and it wasn't going to work. That speaks volumes. When 2 Brexiteer MPs have been writing up drafts of policies for the last 2 years, have looked at it and gone, actually no, it's not that good, I'm going to quit. That says a lot about Brexit.
There's been a lot of turmoil in Parliament over this shit.
Yes, it has.
I know, like, you can't argue that. There's so many
But
people that wanted to just
I don't
walk
trust
out.
politicians full stop anyway.
No.
They're all liars. They're professional
Well,
They
liars.
are.
I did
Saw snakes.
And they will tell you what you want to hear just to be in the position that they are.
I
And
didn't-
that'll never change. And
I
that's
didn't-
why I don't vote.
I did a job for a client when we went into the Houses of Parliament and I got the chance to speak to an MP. And there are some people that have a position in the Houses of Parliament. So you can get paid. I think they get paid upwards of like 300 just for turning up, just for signing their name, turning up. There are some people who have a position there, and they will have the taxi drop them off, keep the taxi waiting, go in, sign the name, leave, and they're taking the money and they've not done anything.
As well
When
as
I
that-
went there before, there were people there's people in there, and they're just sleeping in there.
Yeah, they do.
Those people are making decisions for us.
Yeah, about the whole of the UK. You know what I mean?
They don't.
Even down to the fact of their expenses. You've got people that live within a facility that could walk to work if they chose to, but they'd rather buy a taxi, they'll get all of their expenses, but the thing is, you've got a minimum, I forgot what the minimum wage is for an MP, like, you've got obviously your local MPs.
It's something ridiculous.
Yeah, it's something stupid, and then you look at like the average wage of like nurses, doctors, you know what I mean, it's just, you put things into perspective like that.
It's true, but I think if you think about it from this sort of perspective, those people have worked their entire lives to get where they are. Like regardless of like the amount of wage and who deserves more, but those people are in that position because they've chose to be there. They've worked for that position, and people may not trust them and may not want that sort of thing. But your average Joe that you'd happen to meet or have a conversation with, a lot of people are so stupid they wouldn't even know where to begin. Oh, just kick them all out of the country type thing, without any regards for like the effects of like what their decisions would have.
I think that's just down to our generation in general though.
Not just our generation.
It's not just.
I'm not saying it's just ours,
The
but I'd
majority-
say predominantly most of our generation have
No.
not got an idea about politics.
No, I disagree. I think
Oh yeah, I think our generation has probably got more of an idea in politics.
we're
than
more.
any
We're
before
more.
at
Yeah,
our age.
we're so,
If you think about how much shit is happening around the world right now because of politics, we're gonna learn something.
I
I,
don't know,
I think
I
we know
can-
more now than what our parents would have done at our
Absolutely.
age.
Yeah,
No, I don't.
Oh,
I don't.
I
I
genuinely
don't at all.
I think I do.
well, you've got unlimited access to as much information as you want. It's whether
Yeah.
you choose to
yeah.
find out more.
I genuinely do
In
think-
regards to like the internet and stuff, obviously you've got more access at the tip of your fingers. I get that, but what I'm saying is we were taught very differently to what our ancestors were taught, and down to like your human rights, things like that. I don't remember once learning about important information, like
I don't think
as an example, down to like the schooling system and things. You don't learn anything about your taxes, about mortgages, about things that you need to know as a natural
But we did learn about politics.
I don't think.
When?
Citizenship.
citizenship.
I don't think
I
I
can't
anyone.
got
remember-
a citizenship.
I
didn't
can't,
pay
I
attention
can't remember
whatsoever.
any citizenship really.
Yeah.
And they literally spoke about all the parties in citizenship and how local MPs were.
But a citizen was an option. I didn't take
It
citizenship.
was an option.
It was. I didn't take citizenship.
I don't
That's
It
know.
wasn't.
what
It was
No.
mandatory.
It was
Huh?
man-
Citizenship and RV was mandatory.
Yeah.
It wasn't
It
because I
was.
didn't do it.
Year
Hand
nine.
on heart, I did not take RV and
Someone
citizenship.
definitely forgot you out.
No,
and you
I
did it.
swear to God.
How you got
I
out
had
of
three
that?
options. I had childcare. I had
In year 10 and 11, yeah. This I'm talking about year 9.
year
Before
nine.
we had options.
No,
I can't-
year 10, 11.
I remember
12,
geography.
I
I
had
remember
to.
learning geography.
It was mandatory for me. The
Honestly,
citizenship and RV was
Because
mandatory.
my three
I mean, honestly, I'll show you my GCSEs, man. I've not got.
my three options were history, geography, performing arts, and I had RE and citizenship.
I think ultimately no one here is going to argue that the educational system is flawed.
Yes,
It is a
yeah,
bit
yes,
far.
yeah.
But also another thing about Brexit is what it has massive implications. I know it's like not probably to us guys it's not, but it's a big industry in the UK. Is the science and research area. Like the UK, per person in the UK is the biggest researching country in the world, even bigger than America per person.
I recently learned that I know we've been given the permission, but I'm pretty sure we were either the first or one of the first to actually allow engineering of embryos, like
Something like
biological
that.
engineering.
And we
of
do a
embryos.
lot of research and science. Like we go to over to Europe a lot, because obviously they have like a lot of science over here, a lot of science over here, like stuff like that, like specialised in different areas. Like the science industry would absolutely just gonna
Something else I learned
just gonna
recently as well.
crash throughout the
We've
UK.
got a really big sort of industry around studying the health benefits of cannabis and whatever else you can think to do with cannabis. But because of the regulations, we can't use it in our own country, and we export essentially medicine to the States. And, like we're making
like,
it here.
the thing,
Here's the
what
question, do you
I
think-
think is, which I kind of want to like, when it comes to the EU and them giving us rules, we don't have to say yes. You do realise that. We've said no to quite a few things. You've said we're like, no, we're not doing that. We can. It's just our government has chosen to go. Okay, that's
One
fine.
of those were for us to have the euro because we were one of the first countries to be part of the EU.
Yeah.
Who were like, no, we're not having that, and that's how it's going to stay.
Yeah.
That's why we still got the pound.
Well, that's what I mean. Like we literally, we never had to say yes to anything. We could go, no.
But we only got away with that because we were one of the OG ones, so that's
But
the only
yeah,
reason.
but we still would have been that anyway.
I don't think we need to be a
One of
part of
the
the EU to
Yeah,
define
one of the
us as a country.
originals.
You know what I mean?
But
I don't think
see,
the EU
that's-
defines us as a country, and I think
That's taking it to a next level, which is probably going to sound stupid. Nationality is one of the biggest drawbacks to society. Nationality stems to racism because you're like, oh, I love England, I want England. Like if you look at the old England to be
I
what
don't
it
think
was.
it's racist to be proud of your inheritance.
No, that's-
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's
Can
not
I,
what I'm
add,
saying.
let me just quickly add on that racist point. I don't think certainly there are people that would bring a certain level of racism if it was being patriotic to a country, but I'd say that would be more of like just general opinion of another person's country.
My personal opinion is I'm mixed race between Jamaican, Irish, British, Scottish. I've got loads of different.
Cocktail.
Yeah.
That McCarran cocktail.
No, but like I'm proud to be British in certain elements. I'm proud of what I've achieved as a
like
country.
100%. But even if you look into the UK, like the whole Scottish referendum, it's because the Scottish doesn't really want to be kind of included with England. And like if you look at kind of band, to like all the Welshies, the Scottish, that underlying all that is kind of racist. What we all say about each other. And can you imagine if there was no such thing as England, Wales, and Scotland, it was one country, you wouldn't have that. So what I'm saying is, if there was no such thing as England, Germany, France, and instead of being separate countries, it was just Europe, there wouldn't be that kind of, oh, I want to leave Europe.
No, the world. There's all in history. There's always an element of whether if you take the nationality away, it's still going to be the factor of
But we've never not had a nationality in history before. It'd be interesting for like a place to kind
no,
of
but
almost.
there's always going to be some cause of like infliction with something, whether it's your accent. So like for example,
Well-
look how different the Birmingham accent is to the Wolverhampton accent. Now everyone else out of that area, they don't see much difference between the Birmingham and Wolverhampton
Yeah.
accent. Whereas when you're living in it and like you're close to
You
each other,
100%
you can notice
Yeah.
the different twang. Now I've been told multiple times you don't pronounce the word laugh, it's laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
class.
know it's
yeah.
smaller scale and it's not to do with like
Yeah.
racism or whatnot.
I laugh
But
at
even
people
down
who
to
do
like,
that.
there's always going to be an infliction there because
But there is. But
even down to age as well.
But you know
You
that.
know what I mean?
But you know that infliction between like, let's say, Scouse, Yam Yam,
Mm.
and like London. It's more like we take the piss, but it's nowhere near as bad as the racism might be between like England and like. It's not racist. It's not bad now, but like France, let's say, because we've never had a good history with them. But it's never on that scale because it's the same country, it's the same people, and we all have lots of shared norms and values. And that's kind of where racism comes from, not having those shared norms and values.
I think racism fundamentally comes from a place of fear. People are scared of change.
Absolutely, in ignorance.
People feel
Yeah.
threatened by certain
It's
things.
different. I don't like it. Get away from me.
Yeah.
But
That's
until,
all.
Yeah, of
until you
course.
understand what it
And
is.
a lot of it comes down to the fact that they've lived in an environment where their parents, their grandparents,
isolated
and
bubble.
it's a norm, it's a normality
Yeah.
for them. There's different levels of racism, and I think that sometimes people can actually use racism card very easily when it's not actually a racist situation.
Yeah.
And I can firsthand, I've witnessed people use it as their ability to get further in different places.
And it almost
And
makes the argument stupid. Not stupid,
Yeah,
but it
no,
like.
no,
but
that's
then
what
it's
I mean,
undermines the
but
argument.
sometimes it's like people are that, like some people genuinely believe that you're being racist because you've said something that isn't anything
You
to
told
do.
them no.
Yeah,
Like.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've seen it before where I've been getting on the bus, someone hasn't had their bus pass and they says, oh, I ain't got my bus pass, I haven't got any money. They just started walking onto the bus, driver's come out now and says leave, and they're like, oh, you're being racist, da, 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 da. And it's just like, you know that they're not being racist, but you're pulling the racism card just so that he feels like,
Yeah.
oh
Shit.
no,
Yeah.
I can't say that.
Well,
You
that's
know what I
exactly
mean?
the same thing as exploiting the system as this sort of culture of being easily offended has become.
She-
Because people know that they can get away with certain things
Yeah.
Oh,
by
yeah.
just playing a certain card.
Yeah.
It's just people exploiting an opportunity.
It's
of
like
maybe
that thing about the man-sized tissues. Like, can we at least actually deal with like the actual kind of issues with sexism rather than a product being called man size. If you
Did you say man-sized tissues? Or
was it tissues?
Yeah,
or-
it's tissues.
Was it tissues? What?
Yeah.
It's like, why don't you put all that effort in because that was going on social media. If people put half the effort that went into social media campaigns and all the messages about like women's like getting equal pay, do you know
It's
what I
like
mean?
if-
that kind
I,
of
as a woman, I think it is downright cheeky in certain aspects because they're saying that men earn a certain wage higher than women and this, that and the other and we need to be equal, but we're not equal. We're female, you're male. There is a difference in
Actually,
general.
yeah.
And like,
I do agree
They
with
they
that.
are
but
all
if-
about men being paid certain wages, but if you look at the statistics of men and women, and like, what if there's a bloke out there, for example, that's worked his absolute balls off right, and he's become a CEO of a company, and he's had to work for this job.
Yeah.
He hasn't just been handed it, oh, you're a bloke, you can be a CEO. And there is female CEOs out there. I think you should be judged on your capability of working and on your skills rather than
No, but
saying that, oh, I'm a woman, we don't get paid as much as men, da 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 da. It's
No,
like,
when
well,
I-
have you worked as hard as that?
when I say like the pay, I mean the pay in the same role. Because there is a difference in role. That's what I mean. It should be more like all that effort which went into whole man-sized tissues. It should be women and men should be paid the same amount in the same role. I don't mean just generally, like in the same role.
But
But the thing is, like men as well might be like the statistics might be construed that men earn more because they're in higher positions. That's also an issue. Why aren't women getting in those higher positions?
because they're not putting themselves in it, you know what I mean?
But they are. But some things are holding them back, even down to education. Like women will get put into like kind of more like.
I disagree because I had the same education as what you guys did, and just because I was a female, I was never treated differently. I get in probably certain. There probably is an element of it, but I think overall women drive off that. They're like, yeah, we're not paid
Absolutely.
equal, da da da.
Yeah,
da.
absolutely.
But the thing is, in any case scenario, even in the aspect of like you've got people on apprenticeships that are on £3 odd an hour doing
Yeah.
the same job as what Bob's been doing for the past 20 years,
Yeah.
and he's on a good whack. But like, there's more issues there rather than, oh, I'm a woman, I should be paid the same as them. Well, did you start at the same time? Did you?
Yeah.
Like, I've started my job role, and there's been people there that have been there for a good few years, and naturally there is a 0 point something percentage that your wages go up each year. Now, because they've been there longer than me, naturally they're going to be on a higher wage. But I'll be doing the same job. I'll be
Because
doing
if
the
you do
same
the
job as
same
them.
job, should you get paid the same
Well,
amount?
they've been in the same job role for longer than what
But
I
then,
have.
but
but you
how
haven't been in
long
the same
have you been-
job to
but-
get the benefits of being there longer. That's
But-
the thing.
Does time necessarily mean that you're entitled to more?
Well, it's the case that obviously
Depends.
because they've been there longer, there is naturally a certain percentage increase.
Because yeah, it's more of an incentive in the business to stay rather than do
yeah,
the same
it's
thing.
not-
If,
it's
if,
not as
if,
well as
if
that,
their
it's just
company, if
keeping
their
up with
company
the-
policy is, oh yeah, your wages increase per certain year, fair enough. But I mean, across the board, generally, just because you work somewhere for long enough doesn't mean you should get paid more.
It depends
because
how-
you're doing the same
It depends
job.
the reason why the pay is rising. If it's
yeah.
rising because of your incentive to stay at the company, then yeah, fair enough. You go based off you come out the same way. However, if that job role is getting an increase every year, then when you start, yeah, you have that top wage.
Yeah,
But
if,
if you-
the
If
job
you put
role
it
is
into
like-
perspective, it's like when they first started, they was on the same wage as what I was when I started. So by the time I'm there, as long as what they've been there, I'll be on the same wage, even though we're on different age structures and whatnot.
yeah.
It's sort of equal, but then there is a certain element that I can appreciate that is because, well, I wasn't here when they had that 0 point something increase. I didn't exist in this business at that point. So I don't take that
yeah.
personally, I take that more the case, well,
Because I kind
It
of
is what it
think
is.
if everyone's doing the same job, then they should all be paid the same.